At some point, humans gained the ability to use tools. At first, they were simple things using the bones of animals and fragments of rock. Using their wisdom, humans improved their tools, harnessing fire, wind, and nowadays even atomic energy. They began to build up a sophisticated culture. On the other hand, however, there are people who still only use stone. How do they catch game and defend themselves from outsiders? Using only their strong jumping power and stone spheres, they use those skillfully to defend themselves. Here, we introduce two such people. It seems their names are Mario and Luigi. Will they ever learn about sophisticated culture? Yeah, somehow that's the plot of this game from the instruction booklet. Punchball Mario Bros. Has a plot where Mario and Luigi are savages that live in the sewer. Punchball Mario Bros. Released on October 5th of 1984. I should state up front that this is going to be a rant video. This is the third of Hudson Soft's spoofs on the arcade games, with this being the second one derivative of Mario Bros., the other one being Mario Bros. Special. This one follows the format of the arcade game much closer, with the objective being to defeat all of the enemies rather than having assorted goals for each different stage. Instead of knocking enemies over by hitting them from below, this time you have a weapon called a punch ball, which you use to throw at enemies to knock them over. Unfortunately, some evil cultist murderer that works for Hudson Soft decided it was a good idea to have jumping and throwing the punch ball be dependent on the same button. The way you trigger this is dependent on Mario's movement. If he's moving, he'll jump. If he's still, he'll throw the ball. This means you cannot quickly turn around to throw that punch ball if an enemy is behind you. There's always about a second of delay that allows you to do this. You also cannot jump straight upwards, only sideways. And remember, Mario's movement in Mario Bros. Is slippery, so he does not just stop whenever he lands. And also, you cannot alter Mario's jump arc once you've started it. You cannot quickly turn around while moving, which you could do in Mario Bros. Special. All of these combine into my decision to have an input overlay in the corner, so you can see how different my inputs are for Mario's movement. There are three enemies in the game, the usual Shellcreepers, Sidesteppers, and Fighter Flies. Shellcreepers and Sidesteppers are identical, though Fighter Flies are invincible while they're jumping. The only unique mechanics introduced beside that are Icy Platforms, Moving Platforms, and later Icy Moving Platforms, which get introduced in Phase 15. The ice physics compound with Mario's already slippery movement, making it so a single directional press can send you flying about 40% the distance of the screen where you have zero control the entire time. Moving platforms in video games tend to function in two different ways. Either the momentum of the platform is carried into the player, meaning if you stand on the platform, you'll go along with it. The other way is the player's movement is static, and the platform moves around it. If you stand still on these platforms, you'll end up falling off of them. This game decides to have the inspired decision to have momentum, but have it not at all line up with how the platform is moving, so you fall off anyway. These Hudson Soft games also don't know how to program the edges of platforms to match their visual appearance, so if you try to jump on them, you might just fall through. At the bottom of the screen is a pipe that enemies fall into to respawn. This is a bottomless pit, so if you fall in, you'll lose a life. Oh, also sometimes the enemies just phase through your attacks. There's only one kind of fireball this time, which functions like the green ones from the arcade game. In that version, there's a little animation that plays while the fireball is spawning to warn you to avoid it before it gains collision. In this one, it gains collision the second it appears. This means you will get hit by something that spawns on top of you while moving to the opposite sides of the screen. Everything I've said so far combines into making the literal worst controlling video game I could even conceptualize. Hudson Soft's Donkey Kong 3 is definitely a harder game, but this one is way, way worse. I know it's tempting to blame this on the technology of the time, but it is not. The issues this game has with its controls are different from the ones from the other Hudson Soft games, and in ways that are contradictory. The issues this game has were already solved in earlier games, yet they kept them for an artistic vision. That vision is to make one of the first Rage games. My objective for the game was just to see all the mechanics, which is Phase 15. Other people have used Phase 17 as the ending point, though I don't entirely see why. I think the idea is this the last unique set of enemies that spawn on the stage, but from footage I've seen, I'm pretty sure there are unique patterns even later than this. I did try to get to Phase 17 for a bit, but I don't think it's worth much, since I've already seen what this game has to offer. The differences between Game A and B are not dependent on the enemies. Instead, the punch ball goes farther in Game A than it does for Game B. I believe that's it. My main playthrough was Game B, so I didn't really play around with how different this makes the game feel. Here's the multiplayer mode, with Luigi having a green punch ball. I couldn't find out how to control Luigi, so I just made Mario push him to his death to prove the Mario's mental theory correct.